Welcome to Edpuzzle. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you guys today, but I am going to do a little bit of review of finding the unit rate given a word problem, and then you're going to have some time to do some independent practice, okay? So let's read number 1 together. So it says, if 3 3/4 pounds of candy cost $20.25, how much would 1 pound of candy cost? So first we have to think about the first step that we would do in this scenario, and that would be we would have to write a rate. Now, when we write a rate, we look at the units first. So it wants to know how much 1 pound of candy will cost. So when I do my labels, I want you to set up your labels as how much money for 1 pound. Once we have our labels, we can go ahead and match the numbers that go with those labels. So right now I have $20.25 for how many pounds? Well, in the problem, that was how much it was for 3 3/4 pounds. Okay, so now remember, I knew that the 1 pound had to go on bottom because in a unit rate, 1 is always on the bottom, which means my pounds was my bottom unit. So how much would 1 pound be? That's why my 1 pound is going to go on the bottom. So when I divide those on my calculator, I do 20.25. Now remember, when I divide, I hit 3 ABC, 3 ABC4, and I get 5.4. So that's going to be my top number is going to be 5.4. But remember, my units is money. It doesn't make sense that my pound of candy is going to cost $5.4. It's going to cost $5.40. For how many pounds? For 1 pound. Remember, in a unit rate, your bottom number is always a 1, and that quantity will go in the denominator of your fraction. Okay, so that's finding the unit rate given a word problem. Now we're going to look at an example that's a little bit more difficult. So this example says, in 50 minutes, a turtle walks 7/8 of a mile. What is the unit rate when the turtle's speed is expressed in miles per hour? So for this one, it's telling us we need miles per hour. So the first step that I'm going to do is write my units as miles per hour. But wait a second, they don't give it to me in miles per hour because when I match it up, it's miles per minute. So really, when I start off, I have to figure out how many miles per minute, and then I'm going to have my answer be in miles per hour. So when I take a look here, how many miles? Well, the miles matches up. I have 7/8 of a mile. And how many minutes? Well, that's 50 minutes. So when I divide those in my calculator, I have 7 ABC 8 divided by 50. That means they go 7/400 of a mile. So 7/400 of a mile in 1 minute. But when I started off, I figured out that it was miles per hour. So I know how many miles they go in a minute. To figure out how many they go in an hour, I'm going to have to multiply that by minutes are in an hour. Well, 60 minutes are in an hour. So when I do that, I have 7/400, which is already in my calculator. I have to multiply that by my 60. So I get 1U120. Now remember, that is 1 1/20 of a mile. Now 1 minute times 60 is 60 minutes, which is really my 1 hour. So what is the unit rate when expressed in miles per hour? Well, they can go 1 1/20 miles the turtle can walk in 1 hour. Okay, so a couple things to remember when you're working on your independent practice today. One is to always start with your units. If your units that it's asking aren't the same as the units that it gives you, make sure that you work backwards and start with the units that it gives you. Okay, be very close to figure out what unit goes on top of the fraction and what unit goes on the bottom of the fraction, and read the question carefully. Okay, so now you're going to go ahead and end the video and raise your hand to get the practice worksheet. Thanks, bye.